Okay, so obviously I've been doing the whole trying to get compensation for my life being ruined and trying to get rehomed for quite a while now. And the LGO were obviously completely useless. Initially, they were just trying to offer £150 for all the years of my life that had been ruined, and trying to not accept that the council were responsible, even though there was clear and distinct proof that they were responsible. And after the initial case, I had to get it reopened, and then they reopened it, and then they accepted that yes, I had done enough to try and get my benefits paid, and to try and get them to pay the due housing benefits where they illegally withheld it for 9 months, which led to my eviction, which led to the depression and suicide attempts, which led to me not being able to attend job seeker sessions because they'd already withheld them for 6 months at that point. I'd received a letter that said that if I ever left the home they could claim possession any time, and then there was someone sat outside the window at all the points. And on these videos I believe that was when I got the letter, which I wrote on the back, the logo, and I burnt, and that's when the burning logo came. That piece of paper, I believe, was the one that has the eviction note, and I burnt it because, at the time, in my mental state, I was, if I've burnt it, then it doesn't exist, and they can't claim that they've given me notice, and then they can't evict me. And so, yeah, that's why I burnt it. And unfortunately, that would be a nice key piece of evidence to have to show that they were doing that to me, and that they had given me that letter that said that, if I left at any time, they'd take possession. And, I did also film the 3 police bar barriers, but unfortunately that's in the footage that got erased by viruses. And, fuck you, crypto lockers. So I lost that footage as well. So yeah, anyway, now that they have finally accepted that they did do that and that was the cause, they're offering, it's a pathetic amount, the 6,400, and £1,000 of that is for possessions, even though that doesn't cost the replacement, and they would legally have to actually replace, like for like, everything that I lost, because they have to restore me to how my life would have been had this never happened legally. And that doesn't include maybe bargain prices I got the items for, because my Qualtis washer dryer, I got it for 160 and it costs now £500 to get a new one. And it's not meant to be hassle of trying to find the bargain prices for all the stuff that you lost, and that's just for the Qualtis washer dryer, so yeah, that's half the compensation that they're offering towards that. It's like, there was all of my clothes, there was all of my furniture. One was an antique piece of furniture I got from the YMCA, and that was worth quite a bit, but I got it a lot cheaper, but still it's a nice piece of furniture. And there was lots of furniture, there was all my DVDs, all my CDs, my PlayStation 2, all my PlayStation 2 games, my favourite PlayStation 1 games that I'd taken that I wanted to play, there was all the peripherals, lots of controllers, there was the Xbox 360 that was special so to speak, but I took my main one with me. There's so much that I could carry. And I even broke my suitcase because I wore the tyres flat because it had my stuff in it that was so heavy because it was so filled with it. And then backpack full of stuff, and obviously I was in my tank shape then that I could carry a lot, and then obviously I deteriorated over everything. But if it wasn't for that, then I wouldn't have been able to take so much with me. But through determination I pulled it along the ground, and it just sheared the tyres flat. That's how heavy it was. And yeah, anyway, they're like, even though they accept that, they should pay, because I was on job seekers, the job seekers for the entire time that I was homeless up to being rehomed, because there's that entire big gap. And not only that, they saved the £46,000 entirely in benefits, and really the council can't be allowed to save on the hardships that they've caused me, and they're still pursuing me for council tax for the periods and all that bollocks that they really shouldn't do, because it would have been covered by the benefits. So if you're not gonna pay me that, then you can't charge me for it. And also all my possessions that you could have sold off and paid off all the debts a million times over, so fuck you, council. But yeah, the LGO were just ignoring that, and they're ignoring the fact that when I was homeless and staying on people's sofas temporary amounts of times, thus, that apparently I could have lived a whole fulfilling life and claimed benefits, even though I couldn't claim benefits because I had no permanent residence. I couldn't guarantee that I was going to be there the next week. I couldn't look for work, and there was even the situations. Yes, I stayed on Nikki's sofa for a bit, and she was blackmailing me in the end for sex, which was why I got kicked out, because I turned her down. So but oh god, I hated Nikki, and I really hated Nikki, but it was my only option left at that point, in an emergency, and quick to get rehoused or somewhere to stay. And then I ended up staying around people that I worked with at festivals, and Katie in London, and I think I might have accidentally made plans for her to kill me because I wanted to die, and then because I wasn't in the right state of mind, not even realised. But it obviously all didn't go through. But I think I may have accidentally done that. And then random women off the internet that I ended up meeting for a place to stay for a bit, and it's like, yeah, that was not really situations I could stay anywhere or look for work. And then when I ended up staying at my sister's shitty hovel in the middle of nowhere that was flea infested and horrible, and cleaning that for her for a bit to try and have somewhere to stay, and that was absolutely horrible, because that's even worse in the middle of nowhere than even my mum's, and yeah, not good at all. And yeah, and then when I couldn't cope anymore, and I just spent whatever little money I had to stay in a house of multiple occupancy that was rat infested, and 90% of the lights didn't work. There wasn't lights in the kitchen, there wasn't lights in the toilet, there wasn't lights in the hallways, and the light in the bedroom barely hung on by a thread, and if you tapped it the slightest bit, the light bulb fell out. And it was so filthy and disgusting, and I spent most of my time there cleaning up that place and making it livable and sunny, with his fucking rice everywhere. There was rice all over the surfaces, but that's because there's no light in the kitchen, because the lighting didn't work. They didn't have the heating on, the heating didn't work. It was just a horrible fucking place. It's a horrible place to live, but that was all I could afford, and I couldn't claim benefits there because the landlord wouldn't allow that. So I had to pay out with what I had, and I spent my time there trying to get rehomed and trying to continue these council complaints. So there was that, and then that money ran out fairly quickly, so I couldn't do that. And so yeah, that was not fun existence. And then I didn't get on with my mum at all, so and she also needed the house for my sister's children because she had to take care of them. But, it was a last resort, because the council were ignoring applications and they were like, oh, you have to get an application in to get rehomed, even though they really should have just fulfilled the duty of care to just rehome me, because they had made me homeless. But, what can you do? You have to fulfill what they say. You have to go along with what they say, because if you don't, they're like, well, you didn't follow our instructions. And it's like... So, they're like, come and fill this application. You ask them, where do I go to fill this application then? The council don't respond. The LGO allow them to not respond and not tell me where to go and not know where to go. So, my only option is, because they wouldn't accept email applications of housing, which I had tried to do. They wouldn't accept applications for housing where you're not in a permanent residence. So, my only option for a permanent address to write from to apply for housing or to get rehomed, even though I'm still begging for emergency shelters to be rehomed because they had made me homeless, is to go stay on my mum's sofa. So I'm expecting, because of the emails and conversations that we've been having, that this would take a couple of weeks at most to get emergency accommodation. All I would have to do is get this application in. So I send the application straight away because I'm desperate to get rehomed and get my life back together. They lose it, and I send emails like months later, why haven't you processed my application? Where's my application? Why aren't you doing anything about this? And it's like, I can't find your application, we don't know what's happened to it. So you send another, and they lose that again. You send another, and they lose that again. So you send one via recorded delivery, they lose that again. And then they go, well, we haven't received it. And it's like, well, I've got this signature and this proof from Royal Mail that you've got it received. And then they go to the website. Well, it doesn't quite exactly say that in the wording. So Royal Mail update the wording so that it says that specifically. And despite the fact that I've got an email from Royal Mail with a signature and an email from Royal Mail that says that they have definitely delivered it to this mailbox and it's a Birmingham City Council mailbox, they're like, no. The website doesn't say it, and then they update the website because the council are just, refusing to say that they received it, and then the website says that they've received it as well, in very specific terms, with the signature showing, and then they just don't respond. And, I've got proof then of not only chasing up applications constantly and applications that have been proved to be sent again at this point where I've had to go to the trouble of sending it via recorded delivery because they're just losing them and not acknowledging them. And even with that proof, they just don't respond. And the LGO still finds it in the favour of the council to go, well, and it's like, I've got proof that I've sent these fucking applications, I've got proof that I've been chasing them, and I've got proof from before that, it was meant to be emergency rehoming, and all I had to do is get an application in. They wouldn't tell me where the fuck to go, so, my only resort then is to do this, and then they're like, well, you were in a place, it doesn't matter that you were only meant to be staying there a couple of weeks and you can't stand living there and you'd kill yourself before fucking staying there any moment longer and you're going fucking insane. And it's like, oh, for fuck's sake, council, in a court of law this would have been proved already a million times over, and it's like, yeah, you've lost all these applications, you were supposed to be putting me in emergency accommodation straight away, and all I'd have to do is get this application in, and then you're fucking causing excuses and causing more boundaries and causing more barriers, and then you're like, well, why don't you call up this number and try and get rehomed with them? But we'll only do it to the LHA rate, which is £45 or something, because it has to be at the 30th percentile of whatever the average rate in Birmingham is. And it's like there was no housing that would do that, and then they were like, why don't you look on the private market? And again, there's nowhere that would take me for that. And then they're like, well, you could apply for this specialist fund, but you can only apply for that specialist fund if you've already got a place, and you can't get a place because they won't take you unless you've got the funds to prove that you can do it, with no money because I've spent it all on the fucking legal house multiple occupancy and I was completely bankrupt. And so yeah, it's like no income, no proof of income, no job seekers. The rent wouldn't pay for it with council benefits, and they wouldn't take me in unless I had proof that that fund was going to come in, and I couldn't even apply for that fund unless I already had a place to apply for that fund from. So, further proof that their suggestions were completely ridiculous and pointless and adding further boundaries and causing further delays to getting rehomed. And then when they do finally get an application in, this was 4 applications later, they then withhold it for 6 months, which is kind of just waiting till I fall outside of the local area connection criteria, where out of the past 2 years, out of the past 5 years, has there been 2 years that I haven't lived in Birmingham? They waited for exactly where my application stated that I fell outside of that criteria, so they waited months and months for that to happen, and in that time there was another application and being taken to the place where you have to send the applications to do it by fucking hand because they were losing them so fucking much and refusing to exist that they'd got them so much. And even in February, which was halfway between, so it's like 4 months in from the August application that apparently they got, 4 months in, and I've sent an email chasing up and they're still denying its existence, even though there's the August one and a December one. And the LGO are still, well, that's only worth 150 quid, even though all these clear delays for fucking years. And yeah, anyway, besides the point of that, the whole point is they should pay to restore my life as it would have been lived had none of this ever gone on. So I should have got benefits for the entire time, and also compensation for the life I could have lived, because I was living my own personal version of hell this entire fucking time. Be stuck out in the middle of nowhere, cut off from everything, cut off from everyone, not being able to live my life, just stuck on a sofa all fucking day. Not good. Not good, not fun, not enjoyable, not living my life, not able to cook for myself, not able to look after myself, not able to do anything, not able to go anywhere, not able to do things and live life or enjoy it in any factor. It was horrible. The public transport was so shit that trying to get out anywhere would have involved trying to arrange lifts from my mum, and it's like, no, it's not good and not enjoyable, and no. So I couldn't live my life, and it was horrible. And I could have lived my entire life, and there were opportunities to get back with Steph, and she even said, because I was out in the countryside where I had no signal the one time, she felt ignored, so that was why she got with the one guy, because she thought I'd ignored her for 2 days straight. It's like, yeah, great, we were arranging to go to a park and see each other, and we were chatting away, and then thunderstorm, and I can't get a signal out, and it's like, thanks. So and I'd have been with her, and she wouldn't have been with the guy now, so and if I'd had my life, I could have got on with a lot and lived it and enjoyed it, but I could have probably found a full-time job in that time and not had all this stress. I wouldn't have gone through all the suicide attempts that I went through either, and it's just not fun. So I don't see how they can't compensate for any of that, and like I said, they need to compensate for the replacement cost of my possessions, not the I have to try and live with whatever the hell they give me to try and find cheap versions and fucking struggle around for all that bullshit, when they should have just given me the compensation for everything. It should compensate me for absolutely everything that I lost, all of my possessions, to replace brand new now, and not have to struggle and do that. Definitely higher compensation for the suicide attempts, because the Grenfell Tower victims basically get what I get, even though they didn't suffer as much. They lost everything the same as me, but they didn't then try to kill themselves repeatedly for 3 or 4 months. They didn't be homeless for so long that to get a place to stay you had to do around things online, and it's like, yeah, that's not really ideal, is it? And it wasn't a fun existence. I wasn't able to live life or enjoy life, and no, I was struggling, I was stressed, and I've had to relive this entire case constantly over and over, and get even more stressed through that, and it's been very traumatic. And there's times when I just struggle, times that I still just want to die, and times that I'm just feeling completely hopeless, and like, life is there anything for me in life? And it's like, compensation for that should be a lot more, and for the amount of time that I've had to suffer through this, it's like pretty much 6 years of my life. That's 20% of my life, pretty much, and that is not good. 20% of my life you fucked and ruined, council, and you think that that's worth, like, well, it's not even worth most of that, because the 6,000 odd is just for the initial bit, and then the rest of it they're just saying is worth 150 quid. And it's like, for fuck's sake, you've got all this clear evidence and clear proof, and you're just ignoring most of that, and you're leaving most of this off your case. And it's like, what was the point of all these millions of emails? There's got to be at least 2,000 emails complaining and chasing this complaint, and you've seen the paperwork that's like a wedge that thick, and it's like, yeah, you don't think that I've suffered, you don't think that it's been traumatic, you don't think this has fucked my life over, and the months that I had to struggle after getting rehomed as well, with no furniture, no ability to cook food or store food because I didn't have a fridge or a cooker, and there was no hot water because the gas wasn't connected because it was broken for months, and the damp and the fucking oh my god, it's just been a struggle, and it's taken me a year to even get to be able to afford to really to paint the walls. So it's not been an ideal existence. I've still suffered through all of this, and if they'd compensated me immediately, if they'd rehomed me immediately, just in the first instance in August 2012 when I first tried to sort this out, because I have to get in. And, there were a million points where, again, I've tried to sort this out, and, just any of those points, and begging for immediate emergency accommodation if you'd done that. And the emergency accommodation that they eventually did offer in 2016, it took fucking years to even get an offer of emergency accommodation. And that offer of emergency accommodation was, you have to take it today, you have to pay out of your own pocket, and the weekly rent is £175 or something ridiculous like that. It was higher than the highest market rate on the LHA scale. So, because there's the LHA scale on the government website where they calculate the LHA 30 percentile rate for what you'll get in housing benefits if you're under 35. And, it was higher than the highest rates for emergency accommodation. And hello, if I could afford that, I could afford any fucking rental I wanted. And it's like, take this today or we absolve ourselves of all responsibility. So again, the council is being completely illegal and completely immoral. And do you fucking sue them for that, LGO? No. Do you operate in any way behind the law? No. Did you operate in any way to your mandate where you say, we will ensure that no complaints go on for longer than 20 weeks or something? Well, I mean, when I first brought the complaint to you, I'd already been complaining since before 2012, before I was even evicted, but the complaints continued, and they should have done a final response by then. There have been official complaints that were filed and completed and still being ignored by the council, so that's why I had to involve the LGO, and the LGO were like, well, there's no final response, and I spent months trying to chase a final response from the council, and the final response in 2013, it's not from the correct person. It's like, you email the council again to get a final response from the correct person, and none of these final responses ever get completed, so complaints could never be filed. So the LGO should have held the council responsible, because clearly I was trying to get these complaints filed and they were responsible for completing these complaints, but they didn't. They just ignored the fact that I'm asking for months for a final response so that I can get this complaint sorted. Yet they don't. And the LGO's mandate is to make sure that the council don't unreasonably delay, yet the LGO allows them to unreasonably delay for years! For years and years and years. So, yeah. Great job, LGO. So, this may have to go to a judicial review, and I hope that the judicial review doesn't cost me, because it shouldn't, and, but this entire process has been ridiculous and just proves how fucking useless the LGO are and how they need to be replaced with a system that is still accessible by people, that doesn't cost them money, but actually gets it put through a court of law so that your case is actually sorted, and so that it gets expedited and not fucking delayed like the LGO have done now for me, and cause years of additional stress and distress, and cause years of my life to get ruined. Because if I'd been rehomed immediately at my first instance, even at 2013, it would have reduced my suffering a great deal. But no, they allowed it to continue for years after I got them involved, and I only had to look up them and get them involved because the council were being so fucking useless and not doing anything about it. And there's distinct proof that the council caused this, and as a result, causality, legally, by law, you have to restore me to situations I would have lived had I never been put in these circumstances, and they do not do so. They do not do so at all, and then they have to compensate for the loss of life that I could have lived as well, and they do not do so at all. So, yeah, great job in not following the law, and great job in showing that you are not a legal organisation. So, yeah, anyway. I've ranted on for long enough, but I needed to get this out there and just show how they're still fucking my life over and still not compensating for it, because, and the worst part is, 6 days and 400 is going to take me outside of the criteria of savings that you can have for being on benefits, and it's going to cause me to lose the benefits that I have at the moment and going to make me homeless again. So they're just going to fuck me over by giving me, it's just enough to fuck you over, not enough to fix all the shit that we've done you and the fucking years of your life that were ruined. So, yeah. Thanks for watching. Join us again for some more. Goodbye.